Please rise as you are able for the processional.
Good morning and welcome. On behalf of the faculty and staff of the Occupational Therapy Program, I welcome the family and friends of the graduating class of 2023 to Maryville University. I would also like to thank and recognize the guests joining us for this occasion, the faculty of the Occupational Therapy Program, our honored speaker, Dr. Jackie Sample, the Dean of the Walker College of Health Professions, Dr. Michelle Jenkins, and Vice President for Academic Affairs, Dr. Jennifer Yukna. I'm Dr. Bob Cunningham, the Program Director of Maryville's Occupational Therapy Program and Assistant Dean of the Walker College of Health Professions. I am proud to announce the hooding and commencement ceremony for the Master of Occupational Therapy degree to be in session. At this time, I am pleased to call on Dr. Rebecca Birkemeyer, who will introduce our guest speaker.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Cunningham. My name is Dr. Rebecca Birkemeyer, and I have the pleasure of introducing Dr. Jackie Sample. Dr. Sample graduated with a Bachelor of Health Sciences and Occupational Therapy from the University of Missouri-Columbia in 1998, followed by a Master's of Education with an emphasis in autism in 2009. Dr. Sample continued her studies at Nova Southeastern University, receiving a post-professional doctorate of occupational therapy in 2016, where she studied the role of occupational therapy in post-secondary transition for students with autism. Dr. Sample has been a consistent advocate for the profession of OT and for persons with disabilities, including her own son, who was diagnosed with autism at the age of 9 years. Dr. Sample co-founded the annual Missouri Occupational Therapy On the Hill Day and engaged in the passing of a copay parity bill. She also co-founded Missouri Disability Empowerment, also known as MODE, which has become a powerful nonprofit advocacy network that has assisted in passing legislation that has expanded insurance coverage for children with disabilities. In 2020, Dr. Sample made the decision to build on her advocacy experiences and step away from traditional OT roles to run for the Missouri House of Representatives. Though this first campaign did not result in a desired positive outcome, it allowed Dr. Sample to meet and work with several past and present Missouri legislators discussing occupational therapy, accessibility, equity, and inclusion. Currently, Dr. Sample serves as the president of the Missouri Occupational Therapy Association and continues to work on legislative initiatives to protect the scope of practice of OT in the state of Missouri and expand access to OT services for all persons in Missouri. Please welcome Dr. Jackie Sample.
Thank you so much for inviting me to be here today. It is such an honor to be part of this celebration and to officially welcome all of you to this important profession of occupational therapy. In honor of you beginning your OT career, I want to talk a little bit about my first job out of college, because I know that's going to be a pretty immediate thing for you all. I worked in the mental health field in a maximum security forensic hospital, which was definitely not what I expected and is not the traditional occupational therapy position. I was equally excited and terrified. I ended up very much enjoying this job, and I learned a lot of skills regarding human behavior, human motivation, and the ability to read the room. And I use those daily in my current practice as a pediatric occupational therapist. I realized quickly that the OTRs in the hospital were part of the activities department, and we were identified as activities therapists. I questioned why I didn't have OTR/L next to my name, and I was informed by human resources that, quote, the only licensed professionals could have a degree name and not a department name on their badge. And I laughed because I thought they were joking, and I belatedly realized that they were completely serious. So even though I had to pay for my license and I had to provide my license to the HR department so they would hire me, I was not considered a licensed professional because they, quote, had never done it that way. And the OTRs who'd been there for years had never asked. But then they hired me, and I pushed back. I even appealed to the one OTR who was in an administrative position and could have made a difference, but that didn't make a difference. The same "it has always been done this way" phrase was used over and over and over. So I turned to my state professional association, which, by the way, at the time, I was not a member. And I read the information that the Missouri Occupational Therapy Association, or MOTA, sent to me, and I realized that OTRs are qualified mental health professionals in the state of Missouri. And this is really important because it's directly tied to funding, but that's a completely different presentation. Armed with this information and still with my license in my hand, I kept going to administration and to HR demanding that we get new badges. I got a lot of pushback, a lot of colleagues, even my supervisor. Why are you doing this? It doesn't matter. Would the letters on your name badge make a difference in how much you get paid? And the answer was no. Would the letters on my name badge make a difference in my job expectations? The answer was no. However, it made a difference to me. Just like you, I worked really hard for every single letter that came behind my name. And OT is so much more than an activities therapist. It was important to me that we were identified as such. I hate to say that I did eventually give up after several meetings and requests and emails and phone calls. So imagine my surprise about 6 months later when the OTR and administration stopped me on the way into the building and handed me a new badge. Under my name was OTR/L. She said she could not believe it. She had been there as an OT for 26 years, had asked one time, and then never thought to ask again. So she made sure I was the first to receive the new badge with the letters that I had worked so hard to earn. This was a somewhat small success, but it proved to me that partnering with my state association, pushing for change, and not accepting others' perceptions of what they think OT is, does, or should be can result in positive change. So fast forward several years, and I was a married mother of 2 and had a son with undiagnosed autism at that time. He needed services. He qualified for services, but my private insurance refused to provide him with coverage for therapy. So still having this idea in my mind that everything was my fight and my fight alone, I began writing letters and making phone calls and physically going to the Capitol building in Jefferson City and knocking on doors of state representatives, hoping to find someone to help me. Everyone listened, but no one really helped because I was just one mom, after all. I kept thinking my individual efforts would eventually cause something to drastically change, and maybe they did have a minor impact. I realized that if my son was not receiving services, then there were probably many, many more children not receiving services, children who were not receiving occupational therapy. And at this point, I realized that this wasn't just a Jackie as a mom problem, but a professional issue. I realized that the only thing that would fix this would be changing state-level policy in regards to the expectations of private insurance payers. And sadly, I realized, that this work that I knew I was about to commit to would not help my own son. I knew he would grow up in front of my eyes without the services he both qualified for and needed because we could not afford to pay for the services out of pocket. But I held on to the hope that the work I was beginning would help other children and parents in the future who were in similar situations. So the first thing I did after these realizations was I became a member of the Missouri Occupational Therapy Association. They had supported and helped me with my badge project when I wasn't even a member, so I knew their support would be invaluable in taking on legislation and insurance regulations. I hoped so. Secondly, I threw myself into policy, reading policy, writing policy, understanding how policy works and moves within the legislative process. I volunteered as a MOTA district chair, followed by conference chair, and then director of practice. Director of practice has an oversight of the governmental affairs for MOTA. I attended town halls, met elected persons in coffee houses in Panera, which seems to be a favorite hangout for some reason, and continued to walk the halls of the Capitol. I organized a healthcare town hall with OTs, PTs, and speech-language pathologists in an important election year, and we were standing room only to engage with the 11 candidates who attended. I organized and implemented MOTA's annual OT on the Hill Day, where 250 to 300 OT students and practitioners fill the state capitol building and meet with policymakers at all levels to discuss occupational therapy. I met with other parents with younger children who were living the nightmare I had lived with my son. I met my friend Robin, and we literally sat in a Burger King play place with our children and mapped out a plan to work on private insurance reform. I read a book on how to write a bill in the Missouri General Assembly, and I wrote one. We met with so many legislators and lobbyists. Legislators generally wanted to be helpful. Insurance lobbyists wanted us to be quiet because we put a face to the problem and cost them money. I am proud to say that we did impact insurance policy in Missouri after 3 years of effort. And attending that final vote and being present in the governor's office with my children as he signed that bill will always be a proud and emotional core memory. After this experience, I realized that while influencing policy was completely amazing, I wanted to write it. That means I had to once again be comfortable with stepping outside of the traditional role of occupational therapy. I decided to quit my professional job and run for public office with the Missouri House of Representatives. So many colleagues, again, questioned this decision. counseled me to not do this, asked me to reconsider, and advised me to not even try. That by this point, my soul was on fire. Now, if you're not a political person, politics is a very mathematical and strategic game. And generalizing about the OT profession, neither of those tend to be our strong suits. The learning curve was and is steep. The math for the selection was not in my favor, and I did not win. This didn't come as much of a surprise, but I was really hoping for a different outcome. I spent some time sitting with my feelings of disappointment and finally began to reflect on the good things that came from losing my first state election. So throughout my 1.5-year campaign, I talked to literally hundreds, if not thousands of people. And guess what? Every conversation, I had the opportunity to say the words occupational therapy. It was at the forefront of my information because that is who I am. I was able to choose a platform based on my personal and professional experiences, including the words inclusion, accessibility, and equity. I was able to talk about the struggles of many people in accessing basic healthcare services, including but not limited to therapies. I continued to put a face to the problem, and I made a lot of new friends. It is difficult to not make friends when you're running a campaign because you are in multiple events throughout the campaign season. The best part of this is many of those friends now hold an elected office. And guess what they understand when they're sitting in that seat? Occupational therapy. Just 2 days ago, and I'm not making this up, 2 days ago, I encountered a situation where my knowledge of and experience with policy helped me to conclude that decisions made regarding one of my clients was potentially in violation of federal law, a definite violation of the OT Code of Ethics, and a potential civil rights violation. Because my non-traditional OT roles have connected me with policymakers, I got a quick meeting with a federal lobbyist and policy expert to discuss the issue and direct my next steps. Additionally, I contacted my friends in the Missouri House, and I now have a meeting scheduled for next week with department leaders to discuss how and why, or if, our state legislation and interpretation of federal policy is incorrect, or at best, contains some federal oversight or misinterpretation of the role of occupational therapy. The lobbyist of MODA will be joining me there, and MODA Hill Day will have 250 to 300 attendees continue the message. We can individually choose to make changes one client at a time, or we can work to change policy to impact and improve practice across all settings with all clients. I choose the latter. My work with policy is obviously not over. My soul is still very much on fire, and while I may not know how to direct the flames some days, I do know that it will take something drastic to keep me away from policy writing or influence. I have embraced my non-traditional OT roles using my very traditional OT skills. George Bernard Shaw may not have been a perfect person, as none of us are, but a quote attributed to him is as follows: "Life isn't about finding yourself. It is about creating yourself." I hope you take that to heart today. I hope that you start your career and set up a solid foundation of occupational therapy skills. I hope you realize you have an established system of support and team members in your state and national associations, and you make the choice to walk with us. And then I sincerely hope you find that fire. You push yourself beyond traditional OT roles to change your little bit of the world for the better. I hope you push for change because it is the right thing to do for our profession, your clients, and our loved ones. I hope you can pave the way for those who follow in your footsteps. And I hope you have the confidence to try things even when you know you can fail. Because in trying, we create unanticipated solutions. So congratulations to you, and I will see you out there.
Dr. Sample, on behalf of the faculty and graduates, thank you for being part of today's ceremony. We've got a little something for you. I would now like to introduce Dr. Michelle Jenkins, Dean of the Walker College of Health Professions.
Vice President Yukna, it is my privilege to present to you the candidates assembled here who have completed all coursework in the Myrtle E. and Earl E. Walker College of Health Professions at Maryville University for the Master of Occupational Therapy degree. Dr. Ashlyn Cunningham and Dr. Laura Landon will be hooding our students. As I call your name, please approach the stage. Vanessa Elaine Barber. Vanessa is from Perryville, Missouri, and plans to work part-time or PRN in an occupational therapy setting. Elizabeth Birdsell. Elizabeth is from Staunton, Illinois, and plans to work in a pediatric setting. Mary Elizabeth Bragan. Mary is from St. Charles, Missouri, and plans to work in a pediatric setting. Macy Lee Briding. Macy is from St. Peters, Missouri, and plans to work in a geriatric setting. Paige Nicole Brueggemann. Paige is from Bartelso, Illinois, and has accepted a PRN occupational therapy position with SSM Rehabilitation Hospital. Bridget Marie Conway. Bridget is from Springfield, Illinois, and plans to move to Tennessee and work in a setting that treats patients with neurological conditions. Regina May Cruz. Regina is from Lombard, Illinois, and plans to work with adults in an inpatient acute or rehabilitation setting. Madison Riley Dickey. Madison is from St. Charles, Missouri, and has accepted a position in hand therapy with Athletico. Megan Elise Doty. Megan is from Farmington, Missouri, and plans to work part-time or PRN in an occupational therapy setting. Andrea Renee Doltra. Andrea is from Aurora, Illinois, and plans to work as a school-based therapist. Sophia Ann Four. Sophia is from Pinckneyville, Illinois, and plans to work in a pediatric outpatient setting. Angel Nicole Henson. Angel is from Bethalto, Illinois, and has accepted a position with Apple Tree Therapy in O'Fallon, Illinois. Jalen Michelle Honeycutt. Jalen is from Barnhart, Missouri, and has accepted a position at St. Louis Children's Hospital. Courtney Beth Jones. Courtney is from Charleston, Missouri, and plans to work in an inpatient setting. Lauren Elizabeth Jones. Lauren is from St. Louis, Missouri, and plans to work in a geriatric setting. Angela Nicole Youngie. Angela is from Redbud, Illinois, and plans to work in an adult outpatient setting. Megan Marie Kalusniak. Megan is from St. Charles, Missouri, and plans to work in a geriatric setting. Sadie Catherine Kirk. Sadie is from Quincy, Illinois, and plans to work in a hand therapy setting. Caitlin Rose Kurz. Caitlin is from St. Louis, Missouri, and has accepted a position at Places for People in St. Louis. Gianna Rose Labriola. Gianna is from Mokina, Illinois, and has accepted a position at Rankin Jordan Pediatric Bridge Hospital. Ka Man Grace Lamb. Grace is from Hong Kong and plans to work with adults in an acute care or rehabilitation setting. Mackenzie Lynn Murphy. Mackenzie is from Chesterfield, Missouri, and plans to work in a hand therapy setting. Danielle Nicole Oko. Danielle is from Jacksonville, Florida, and plans to work in a pediatric setting. Lauren Claire Schmickley. Lauren is from St. Louis, Missouri, and plans to work in a geriatric setting. Sarah Joy Scriver. Sarah is from St. Louis, Missouri, and plans to work in an inpatient rehabilitation and acute care setting. Gassan Scaff. Gassan is from Carbondale, Illinois, and plans to work in an inpatient rehabilitation setting.
He recently got a job with SSM, I found out today.
And he has accepted a position with SSM. Adna Smachik. Adna is from St. Louis, Missouri, and has accepted a position with SSM Day Institute. Haley Alyssa Strand. Haley is from St. Charles, Missouri, and plans to work in a geriatric setting. Martha Claire Termina. Martha is from Chesterfield, Missouri, and plans to work in an acute care or pediatric setting. Marissa Alexandria Thames. Marissa is from St. Louis, Missouri, and has accepted a position with Hand Therapy Sports Rehabilitation. Helen Marie Korick Timpey. Helen is from St. Louis, Missouri, and plans to work in a pediatric setting. Hannah Claire Tolley. Hannah is from Newburgh, Indiana, and has accepted a position at SSM Day Institute. Savannah Lynn Wallace. Savannah is from Valmeyer, Illinois, and has accepted a position with the Columbia, Missouri Public School Districts. Taylor Lynn Wildermuth. Taylor is from Pinckneyville, Illinois, and plans to practice in a pediatric setting. Esther Katrina Xavier. Esther is from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and plans to work in an acute care setting. I would also like to recognize the graduates who were unable to attend today. Annie Marissa Christensen. Alma Desculio. And Cassandra Roselle. Will all of the candidates of the Myrtle E. and Earl E. Walker College of Health Professions please rise and receive our recognition? Graduates, please remain standing. It is now my pleasure to introduce Vice President of Academic Affairs, Dr. Jennifer Yukna, who will confer the degree.
As Maryville University's Chief Academic Officer, it is my honor to confer your degrees. By the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees and upon the recommendation of the Maryville University faculty, I confer upon you the Master of Occupational Therapy degree as having been completed and invest in you in all of the rights, privileges, and responsibilities pertaining thereto. Congratulations. You may be seated.
At this time, I have the honor of presenting the Award for Academic Excellence in Occupational Therapy. This award recognizes a graduating Master of Occupational Therapy student for exceptional intellectual ability and excellence in scholarship throughout their academic career at Maryville University. This year's recipient maintained a 4.0 cumulative grade point average throughout the occupational therapy graduate program and has gone above and beyond in all of her academic endeavors. This student is recognized for the high level of detail she provided with written work and her ability to proactively seek out information. Additionally, she actively engaged in all of her academic coursework and was adept at translating evidence into meaningful evaluation and intervention plans to enhance her own and her classmates' knowledge of evidence-based occupational therapy practice. With great pleasure, the faculty present the award for academic excellence in occupational therapy to Grace Long. Grace, would you join me? This is my favorite part of the job, by the way. It is now my honor to present the Occupational Therapy Faculty Award. This award recognizes an occupational therapy student who most exemplifies the characteristics and qualities of the occupational therapy profession. The characteristics of a professional occupational therapist are evident in the graduate who is receiving this award today. Throughout this student's time in Maryville's OT program, they consistently demonstrated a commitment and drive to become an ethical, emotionally intelligent, and accomplished occupational therapist. They embodied the core ethical principles of our profession as they pursued excellence in their academics, practical skills, and professionalism. This student embodied the principle of fidelity by demonstrating a goal-oriented approach to ensure continuous personal growth and challenge peers to do the same. This student always strived for the best solution in academic and clinical situations, regardless of the amount of effort required. This student demonstrated veracity through their fierce commitment and determination to investigate, relying heavily on evidence to ensure best practice being achieved. This student has consistently been described as empathetic, adaptable, inclusive, and passionate about helping others feel accepted and successful. With great pleasure, the faculty present the 2023 Occupational Therapy Faculty Award to Jalen Honeycutt. Jalen? Today marks a monumentous occasion in your quest to become occupational therapists. Through dedication, perseverance, and passion, you have achieved the necessary academic credentials needed to begin your career. You have persevered and demonstrated significant flexibility and adaptability as you engaged in the learning process. The faculty and I are proud of what you've been able to achieve. It's important to recognize that as you begin your occupational therapy careers, that you view it as a journey and not a destination. While you have completed the important first step of formal OT education, your learning has just begun. As occupational therapist, you will continue your journey with the opportunity to change people's lives by helping them participate in the things they want to do, the things they need to do, and the things that they are expected to do. The faculty and I encourage you to continue to learn so that you can best meet the occupational needs of the clients that you will be serving. Maryville Occupational Therapy graduates are recognized locally, regionally, and nationally for their professionalism and depth of clinical skill. You are now part of this tradition and have earned the right to be called occupational therapists. The faculty and I wish you well and look forward to hearing about your future accomplishments and how each of you contributed to the reputation of the Maryville Occupational Therapy Program. Congratulations. This brings us to the end of our ceremony. For the guests, please remain seated until the platform party and the graduates have recessed. Thank you.